Hi all, and welcome to the Ask Me Anything webinar that we're hosting today with a past learner, Claudia. She has joined our UX and UI product design career accelerator, and today we'll be chatting to her more about her experience. Just some house announcements. Please feel free to use the chat function for any comments. We'll be having a Q&A section as well. That gives you a chance to post up specific questions for either myself or Claudia. So keep an eye on that as well. Before we get kick-started with the interview with Claudia, I'd like to give you a general breakdown of Forthrive and the Career Accelerator. So, as some of you might know, this is a UX and UI product design career accelerator launch for both career professionals and those that are perhaps finishing off university or have recently graduated. And they're at a point in their journey where they are wanting to look for something different or perhaps make a career switch altogether. So we have designed this 6-month program to be as practical as possible and to give you all the information and skills needed to make a successful transition over into the UX and UI field. The program itself is a 6-month program. It's fully online and remote, and an average time requirement of 15 to 20 hours per week. We will have a mixture of self-paced learning. So we have a learning platform where you'll be able to access all of your course content, and you'll also have lots of interactive sessions. So if you love collaborating and networking with others, then this is a great option. Once a week, there'll be a live session that happens. This is an hour session, and all of our sessions are recorded. So if you're not able to attend for 1 week, you'll always have the benefit of catching up. Our program is also split into 4 components. We have 3 6-week courses, which will take you through the entire life cycle of UX and UI and product design. And we'll end off with a 6-week live business project. So this is one of the more exciting aspects of the program where you'll get a chance to work with a real organization, a client, if you will, and you'll be coming up with strategic recommendations and solutions for them and present this in a consultancy style presentation at the end. So at the end of the 6 months, you should be confident. You should feel that you have all the necessary skills in place to make a smooth transition as well. Then at the end of the program, you'll finish off with a certificate of completion, which would then carry you through the rest of the journey when you are looking for your next career move. Now, in addition to all the amazing skills that we'll be providing, we also put big emphasis on career development and support. So as a part of our program, every learner will go on a journey working with a career coach in one-on-one sessions to really help unlock your full potential. So the journey is completely up to you as well. So if you'd like to start off the program and you also feel that getting a new position and you want to put yourself out there into the market as soon as possible, you could start meeting with your career coaches and mapping out that journey as early as course 1. Other students would like to then wait until they have more portfolio work under their belt and possibly start their journey after the program ends. So it's completely up to you as well as your schedule. And your career coaches will really work with you to help understand your personal brand, what it takes or what skills you need, mapping out your strengths and weaknesses as well. So we'll definitely be getting into more of that. And then for those interested in the application process, we'll cover that at the end. You're more than welcome to book in a time with your enrollment advisors to have or take that conversations further with them, but more on that at the end. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce our special guest today, Claudia. Thank you so much for joining us. Perhaps, just starting off with a basic question of tell us a bit about your background and how you came to find out about the King's program.
Hi everyone, I'm Claudia, and as Jamie already mentioned, I not so recently in April graduated from KCL, and literally a year ago I was just starting it. And I now work for a company. I'm a product designer, I work for a software as a service company that offers a consultation platform for pharmacies. So as a product designer, I get to do all of this, all of the cycle. So a bit of research, a bit of testing, design, and of course, collaboration with developers. And to reply to your question, Jamie, how I came across the UX product UX Career Accelerator. Essentially, I graduated with my bachelor's degree in 2022, and then I wanted to take a bit of a break because I graduated in Spanish and marketing, and I didn't feel like it was quite the right fit. And I thought I want to do something that I want to take a bit of a gap year, just figure out what I really want to do. And as things unfolded, I started getting into UX a bit more. I started reading about it, and I realized that actually a lot of the skills that I'm using are skills that are used in UX. And at that time, I was working in a cafe here and there just so that I could take the time and figure out my professional career. And I realized I was applying my skills in industries that unfortunately either didn't value them or they weren't paid enough for. And I thought UX will allow me to truly be myself. And also, a deal breaker for myself was the fact that I would be on a mission to help people because as a well, we care about user experience. That's what we are here to do. And I think the feeling the I genuinely have the purpose that I am making a difference one way or another in people's life. And that's how I came across UX. And then when I started looking into what courses were there to be offered, I found KCLs, and of course, because it's such a prestigious university, I knew after looking at the brochure, I knew that it would be a real deal, and I knew that it would be worth the money after also having the call with the enrollment advisor. So pretty simple. That's how I came across, and I'm so glad I did.
Thank you so much. Just for everyone as well, if, maybe pop in the chat function whether you're a career changer, advancer, or what is your motivation to do the course. We'd love to address that as well. But Claudia, before you started the program, how much UX and UI and product design experience did you have?
Oh, none. I was a complete fresher. As I said, I knew what UX was, but honestly, entire time I thought, I need to be very tech savvy. I need to know so many different aspects, and I was scared. I was like, it's not for me, and I was postponing it. But then when the time came, I thought, no, I'm sick of this. I'm sick of just like postponing it. And if I don't do it now, I might never do it. And honestly, I took the leap. I read about UX. I spoke with a few designers to understand what the daily tasks look like. And I thought, this might be actually for me. And I took the leap. So honestly, I was just a baby when I started this, and now I'm a full-on product designer. So yeah, it can happen to anyone.
That's great to hear. And I'm seeing most of our comments in the chat is saying career changes. So I'm sure a question a lot of the audience has is what was the learning curve like having, just found out about this and now you're being thrown into a course that's all about this. Was it a steep learning curve or did we gradually introduce it to you?
It was definitely gradual. It was intense, but I knew it was going to be intense. And also, I like to, obviously, the content that I received was very extensive, and it gave me so much knowledge. But any gaps I had, I looked here, I looked there, I asked people outside as well to kind of get the entire idea. So I knew it was going to be intense because I like to be thorough with everything. But the way it was presented to us was definitely very, very gradual. And of course, we built up on top of everything. So it's sort of week or even course three, we were applying something we learned in course one. So everything was kind of wrapping up towards the end. And I never felt like I never felt like I was falling behind. And that's also because of the help from facilitators and success managers that were there to help us. So I never got the feeling that this might have been the wrong decision or something was honestly dumped on me. So yeah, and as for career changers, I just want to mention that so many people on my course were career changers from arts, from data science, architecture, and I think architecture might be on the second cohort, but there are so many different people with different backgrounds, and they make it happen. So it's definitely possible.
No, I can imagine it was quite an experience to go through learning something new, but it's good to hear that we take a gradual approach. So those that might not have experience with building applications or websites, as Claudia pointed out, not entirely necessary. We will go through the foundational work and then build our way up quite quickly from there. And from a time commitment point of view, so a lot of students I speak with, they're working full time, possibly they're new parents, and they have a lot going on. What is one of the key factors that helped you get through or balance your time on the program?
Mm. I think planning ahead, being committed, and allowing myself to sacrifice other things because you will have to do it at the end of the day. And the course is very intense, and you're building your new career as you go. So and this is something that once you're in, at least for myself, I knew that I couldn't back out because this was so important. So as I was going through it, I sat down at the beginning of each week, or even before, I went over the content. I wanted to see how much there was for me to digest. And as you've mentioned, a lot of people are working, and I did as well. So I would plan it around my schedule to see where I could squeeze in some work, some learning, obviously attend sessions or watch them off and online, attend my success manager session. And I think that's at the end of the day what is the biggest difference is whether you're able to commit to make some sacrifices. And to jump on what you said, Jamie, about new parents, we had those as well. We had two pregnancies on the course, and we had two parents with toddlers. I had to look after them, obviously, and the people who had full-time corporate jobs who couldn't move their schedules, and we all made it work. We all graduated, and we all moved on to careers. So it's definitely doable. And I just want to encourage everyone to take the leap if you know you can commit to it.
No, that's fantastic. Thank you, Claudia. And what it sounds like is a lot of discipline. So you're making an investment and it comes with the understanding of it's 6 months. I need to, buckle down. I need to put the time in. Do you think you came in with a lot of those time management skills, or were you developing that as well on the course?
Mm. I definitely came in with those. I have to say that I'm quite disciplined and I do like planning and organizing, but I definitely enhanced these skills as I was working through it because you couldn't there was little time to fall behind on the course. Unfortunately, it's very packed with knowledge, and that's something I knew, but there wasn't a month-long break. Well, there was actually for Christmas, but there wasn't a month-long break before assignment or any other time really to kind of squeeze in or fall behind for 2 weeks and then catch up. So that really motivated me. And of course, I had weeks where I either was sick or not in the right head to commit fully, but I still managed to work around this. And as I said, I think management, great, that's amazing. But I think the mental support that I received from success managers and career coaches is really made a difference for me as well, because they made me notice the progress when I couldn't. Mm, but I also noticed that a lot of people who were maybe at the beginning a bit overwhelmed with the pace of the course, towards the end, they build the resilience and they build the time management skills. So at the end of the course, they could take it on. So it's definitely, whether you have it or not, you can build it.
No, thank you. And that's something I'm always speaking to students about. It's that when you start something new, in the beginning, you have a lot of new language, a lot of new terminology, industry content, and you're trying to digest that while still, trying to learn new skills
Mhm.
as well. So, what advice would you give anyone starting the program that has little knowledge to help make that a bit easier for them?
To be honest, that was me actually a year ago. Starting, I had no idea. The only thing I did before the course is I did a bit of a Figma work. So I just wanted to familiarize myself with the tool. But other than that, was brand new for myself. And to be honest, with that, I think get to acknowledge it, learn it, but also take it easy because it'll come to you as you go through the program. I wasn't, there wasn't a time where I was sitting with a list and learning all the terms, learning all this by heart. No, you go through the course and you learn what it means when you apply it, when it's feasible to use. And I think that's what matters. And I think that's really valuable as well, that there wasn't a time where you had to sit down and memorize something because it was so theory practice and it was like a loop where you'd go theory to practice and that's how you end up learning everything.
No, that's really good advice, and I think that's so important. If you're investing in this, and for anyone in the audience, we have tools we use like Figma. Claudia, tell me, was Figma a difficult tool to use, or what was your experience
Mm,
there?
I don't think it was difficult. Honestly, it was a Udemy course, which was just generally we were learning the tools. But I know a lot of people who didn't know Figma and then just learned it as they went through the course. And that's essentially how you learn a tool. It's very intuitive, especially with the new updates. It's very UX friendly actually, and you can view tutorials online if you're struggling with something. Obviously, you can ask the facilitator as well. And as you go, you kind of learn and you get obviously you learn what tool to use, when not to use it, what's useful, what's not. And there are different ways of doing it. I know a few designers who say don't use auto layout and I use auto layout and it's something we make it work, but it's kind of different and different means to the same end, if you will. So it wasn't a massive barrier. It seems complicated, but it's not.
And I love the fact you're saying that it's about your unique way of thinking
Mm,
and using tools. There's so many roads, but they'll all ultimately lead to the destination. And you speaking about your facilitator. Now, for the audience that might not know, we have a hybrid model, so a lot of self-paced work, but once a week there'll be a live session that's hosted by our course facilitators, and they are subject matter leads. So they're coming from industry and they are providing lots of extra value in these sessions. Claudia, can you maybe tell me what these sessions are like?
right. So the sessions last, as you've mentioned, an hour. And say week one, we are doing user research methods. So our role is to go through the content that we have on the platform. And then in this session, we genuinely apply it to practice. So we get given activities and as you mentioned, facilitator is someone who guides you. It's not like a professor in an undergrad where they give you templates and they exactly tell you what to do. Facilitator here is to guide you. So I come in and I say, this is my way of thinking. This is how I would apply these research methods. This is why. And then they give you feedback. Oh, this is right, but maybe think about this, consider that. And in different business models, this might be valuable. And that's how it went, really. It was just a lot of activities, a lot of, as I said, practical activities with other learners as well. In real time and applying the theory into practice.
Nice. Yeah, I think it's all about being able to hear from those that are doing it. It's one of the reasons we've hired course facilitators is to really give that industry perspective and to help you fully digest the content through their perspective as well.
Mm.
And in it, yeah, you have something
Yeah,
else to add?
I just wanted to jump in to mention that the fact that they work in the industry is a game changer because a lot of the times theory is great, but you have to apply it to practice, and businesses are so different. A lot of the times there is no budget for research. There is only, or there is limited budget for this or that. There are limited capacity regarding developers or time constraints. And this is something that you learn on the job. And having a facilitator she's worked so much on different projects, um, allowed me, and I'm sure other learners as well, to actually think of these things and consider different constraints and different aspects, so as to ensure that what I'm working on, the user experience, meets business objectives and project goals, and say aligns with marketing needs or sales needs as well, which is something that is so important now that I actually work in the industry. So I just wanted to highlight that.
No, that's really important. And I think it's just having that perspective of someone that's in the industry that gives you that confidence as well. And it's something I speak to learners or candidates all the time about. It's, your lectures at university are great, but perhaps they're not in industry, they're
Mhm.
not keeping up with trends and new softwares and tools. So, I mean, with the UX and UI landscape, it's forever changing. So it's fast paced, and you're going to need mentors and people to guide you that are up to date. Now, a
Absolutely.
big part of the program as well is how practical it is. And I want to touch on what is your experience from university, which is very theoretical, to the career accelerator, which is practical.
Mhm. Right. So first thing is, of course, it's a master level certification. So as we all know, master is generally more independent and more you do your own work and come into to check with your professors or facilitators, as in this instance. And what I genuinely loved about and found it so valuable in this course is that when we started, it was theory and practice at the same time. It wasn't 6 weeks of learning theory or even 2 months. It was genuinely learning theory and then applying it to practice straight away. So I remember the first week we were learning about the guidelines for UX and heuristics and other sort of rules for UX. And then in the same week, we were given our case study, which was an app, and then we had to make an audit to that. So having learned these guidelines, make an audit to the app. So what doesn't work, what does work, and relate it to a principle, or why do you think that is? And this is how it went throughout the entire course. And having this practicality ensured that we transitioned, in my instance, transitioned smoothly to a successful career. And honestly, as I was starting my first project, I thought I was expecting a bit of a gap. I was expecting a bit of a curve maybe between university and work, but then it never happened. I was halfway through and I thought, oh, I'm actually doing what I was doing at university, different setting, different methods maybe, but it was such a smooth transition. I never noticed. I never felt like I was falling behind, or I never felt like I was lacking some knowledge. So I think this goes to show how practical and how valuable this course is.
Thank you so much for that, Claudia. And so, for those that don't know, our program has three main courses, and each of these courses will have a practical project that you will deliver at the end. The project scope is given to you at the start of that 6 week course, and you are working on that main project throughout the 6 weeks while also working on additional content as well. So there'll be a total of three practical portfolio pieces for the courses. Um, Claudia, I believe there's a fourth project, which is a project you decide on. So you would, choose either an application or a website. Is that right?
Yes. So how it works is, I think that at the end of course 3 is we present our own case study. So right before the employer project, we were to decide what application or website, I think it's possible as well, we'd like to improve. And we have to do research. So you can't just decide to improve an app because you think so. You have to provide some research pieces that show that it is viable and it's essential that this app is improved. For example, I was working on NHS app and in for the UK and I used the reviews from Apple Store that were really, really bad and showed the exact pain points the users had or problems. And then I went through exactly usability testing. So I asked people to perform a task, record it where they struggled, and then offered my well, not really personal, but suggestions based on the research and the usability testing. And we were supposed to present it. So essentially a whole piece of another case study for the portfolio. Yeah.
Wow, so it sounded like you were really confident at this point because you were on Google Play Store, you were getting reviews. Do you think that the three courses set you up for that case study?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I think when I came to do this course, to do this app, I thought, why I want to do this, I want to do that. And I think I had so much more to give. Unfortunately, I had word limit and I had file limit, so I could only give as much. But it definitely gave me the confidence to give my own ideas, to think and the confidence to trust myself and my judgment as well. And again, and the guidance from facilitators is invaluable because they are obviously, as you mentioned, Jamie, here to guide us. So anytime, I remember I approached the NHS app and I wasn't sure about something, so I went and I checked in. Hey, do you think it's the right thing to do, or should I go the other path? And I received advice, and that's what really makes you trust yourself, not rely on somebody else to tell you what to do.
No, thanks for sharing. And I mean, a common misconception, I imagine, is that when you think UX, UI, you're thinking, big tech companies, maybe Facebook or YouTube. What made you decide that the NHS would be a good place for you to start?
Because everyone uses NHS. This is something healthcare is supposed to be accessible to everyone. And obviously, we're in this day and age where app is something that um, even older people use, and obviously they might not be as tech savvy. So as I approached it, I thought, right, this doesn't make sense to go does this user flow make sense, or does it make sense to make an appointment in this thing, or so why I decided this is essentially why I decided to go for it, because people were really unhappy with how it looked, and I thought a lot of practices rely on NHS. And if you're trying to book an appointment, you're either stressed or already overwhelmed, either about yourself or the people you love. And booking an appointment shouldn't add more complications and more stress to it. It should be such an easy way to book an appointment, as opposed to calling the practice and then being on hold for an hour while someone you love or yourself is feeling under the weather. So that was my really go-to up, maybe go to industry, because this is the basic requirement for all of us, and access to healthcare is obviously something that we should all be able to access to healthcare is something, it's a right, human right. So that's why I went really and focused on that.
I love that answer, Claudia, because it speaks to everyone on a human level. I think
Mm,
when we think design, we often just jump to how beautiful can we make this application look, but often overlooking, what is the problem we are solving? What's the
mm,
underlying need that people have? It- do you find that's a misconception, or what's the balance
absolutely.
between researching and designing?
Do you know what? Before I started this course, I there are so many designers or influencers on LinkedIn, on Instagram, that sell you on this idea that UX is just visual, and they sell you all of these ideas on visual design, which is appealing. I know that people want to see this because I was looking at Figma designs and I thought, wow, this is awesome. This looks so pleasant. but this is just a tip of the iceberg. It looks nice, that's great, but is it accessible? Can people with motor impairments use it? Can people with, say, can people with color blindness use it, So this is something that a lot of the times isn't taken under consideration. And what you mentioned about the problem is, I love asking myself that question, whether I'm actually solving a problem or whether I'm actually making, or whether I'm just making it nicer and pleasant to look at. And I think the industry, where the industry is now, is we have a lot of designers who are just focusing on just scratching the surface and thinking that's it. But unfortunately, it isn't. It's much bigger than this. And as I mentioned before, doing user experience is one thing, but ensuring that you meet budgets, that you meet business objectives, that you align with, say, marketing campaigns, it's something so much bigger and so much complex than people make it look. And that's what I do as a product designer. I take more of a holistic approach to the business. So I think this is very important to say, that it's not, definitely not just about the visuals. And actually, the visuals is just like the very end of the process.
So the tip of the iceberg, and then underneath you have all that additional work.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this speaks to our point earlier of, career changes coming in with and feeling that because I have no design experience, that this might not be a good fit for me. But as you've pointed out, there's so much more to just the design skills you need. Yes, we'll teach you that, but we need to also dive deeper in terms of what else does a UX or product
Absolutely.
designer need. And
Mm-hmm.
that's fantastic answer that you've given. Now, I think a big question everyone is waiting for is, tell us about your career outcome, because that's a big part of our program. It's why so many invest in this course. So maybe give us a brief of how that all came about.
Oh, it's such a lovely story, and I actually love to tell it because it's something that I never expected. And the thing is that I currently work with my facilitator from the course, and how it happened is towards, I think, before employer projects, so right at the end of course 3, we were having a one-on-one meeting, and we were chatting about my coursework and about the industry, and just sort of a conversation with someone in the industry. And I said, I'm applying for jobs, but obviously it's quite tough. And I genuinely just inquired, listen, if you know of any projects, whether paid or unpaid, short term, long term, I said, I don't really mind. I just want to apply my skills to practice. I want to finally dive into the real world. And she said, yeah, of course, like if I know, I'll give you a shout. And then a few days later, she messaged me saying, inviting me to work with her on a project on a website for her colleague. And that was our first collaboration, and it went so well. We got on so well, obviously, because up until then I'd only see her during the facilitator sessions. And later on started working together. We communicated so efficiently, and she made such a nice work environment for me, and was so pleased with my work ethic and my commitment, that then she said, I'd like to join Nomad and the company I work for now, and help me with the product development, with the brand development. And here I am, yeah, working with her now, having finished a few projects. And honestly, I'm just so thankful and so grateful for this outcome, because it was, as I said, so unplanned, so out of the blue, even because that's not something I had in mind when I joined the course. But yeah, this is the learning, I think, that while a lot of people nowadays talk about networking and getting in touch with hiring managers and this, I think that's great, but also networking through how you work. So you show your work ethic, show how committed you are, show what you care about, and then maybe at some point in the future, people will think, oh, I'm doing this project, but I loved how this person worked. I think should be ideal to this. And yeah, and I think that's the advice that I want to give to people as well.
No, that's really good advice. And it sounds like you really put yourself out there. You weren't, sitting back waiting for the opportunity to come, but you took that initiative to
Hmm.
say, look, this is my skills and this is what I can bring. Do you think your current role, and congratulations again, because that's a fantastic outcome. Do you think that role, fits you, did at the time, did it fit your values or did you take it because you needed something?
Hmm, that's a good question, actually, because I think it was a mix of both. I'd be lying if I said I was 100% sure of this. At first, I was scared because this is in a healthcare industry. So we work with pharmacists, and a lot of the products that we develop is medical advice. And I remember when I was, I think, in my success manager session back when I was still in the course, I said one of the industries that I don't feel ready to work in yet is healthcare because I think it's so rigid, so many guidelines. I don't think I'd be able to do it and just yet. But now I'm doing it. So I think as I got the offer, I thought I was a bit scared and I thought, oh, am I going to be able to do this? But now I realize that this work environment checks all my boxes that I wanted from a workspace, from an environment. It allows me to grow. I've grown so much because my boss, she trusts me so much with my ideas. She's so welcoming, and I think what else, what more can you want from your lead, right? So yes, I had my doubts. I'd be lying if I said I didn't, but I still took the leap and I thought, I'm just gonna try it and I'm gonna do it and we'll see what comes out of it.
Wow, amazing. So I'm sure a lot of the audience and a lot of our candidates, they want to know like, is there specific industries that I can work in? And I think what you're saying is testament to the power of attraction. So you thought about not working in healthcare, but you thought about it, and then now you're working in
Mhm.
healthcare. So it was something you didn't directly plan for. And I think that's the amazing thing about our program is because it helps you discover yourself along the way and you might end up working in an industry that you never dreamt of or you never had any motivation to work in that industry, but as you say, it's worked out quite well. Do you think this is an industry you're likely to stay in, or is there other pursuits that you're also passionate about?
Um, uh, that's a good question. That's a good question. And you know what? One thing that's true is I'm very open to what's coming and to the unknown. So you know what? You never know what's gonna happen in a year. And I'm very open to trying new industries, but being in a healthcare checks one very particular box for me personally, and it's the fact that I'm here on a mission and I'm genuinely noticing the impact I might have on people's life. And even though it's not might not be noticeable to a larger population, I know that there are pharmacies in the UK who use Nomad and they use them for consultations when patients come in for travel or even for flu. You want a flu jab? You do the risk assessment and you're using the product I worked on as opposed to spending 5 hours doing the paperwork or having to come in 5 times. You can do it in the comfort of your own home with your phone. And this is something that I don't take for granted, and I'm very grateful that I'm able to be doing this. So to answer your question, for now, I'm very comfortable here and looking at the bigger picture, noticing some voices from the industry about how healthcare and UX are just starting to work together, how it's going to change over the years, and seeing what is coming, what is changing. I'm just so glad to be a part of this when it's just starting.
Thank you so much for that answer. And yep, everyone's heard it first. It's a great industry to consider, but also follow your passions. If healthcare is possibly not for you, there's other industries, and you might not even be considering it, but there are great positions and opportunities waiting. So, Claudia, we have a range of questions. Before we get there, I think the last question I really wanted to ask was your journey with the career coaches. It's a massive part of our program. You will have the 6 months on the program, and we also have a 90-day plan afterwards for those that don't get through all those sessions. What is or how did the career coaching help you in terms of landing your position?
It helped me massively. It helped me massively, and I honestly didn't. The funny thing is, I didn't even notice it as it was happening. The massive breakthrough moment was when I looked at the document I shared with my coach. So essentially, it's a doc where you, at the beginning of the journey, you talk about your fears, your goals, something that might be holding you back, essentially kind of open up about everything that's related to career, to work through everything that might not allow you to progress. And then I filled it out, and then I went back to it maybe in April or May, and I thought, who was this person? I thought she had so many um so little value, or maybe she doubted herself so much. And going through the program with career coach, talking about how I come across, working on my portfolio, on my brand value, and not to mention, of course, the help of success managers as well, and along the way, it helped me to build so much confidence and trust in myself. I think even what's more important than confidence is the trust in my decisions and in my gut, what my competence is telling me to go, how to go about this project. Because along the way, you'll meet all sorts of people, also all sorts of clients that you want to align with, because they simply are either lack self-awareness, or they are in different place, or maybe they are looking for someone with a different approach. And that's fine. That's more than fine, because that's bound to happen. But as long as you trust yourself and your competence, I think you'll always get through this. And that's what helped. That's what career coach helped me with.
Nice. So it sounds like they really helped you to understand yourself on a deeper level so that you
Hmm.
could come out a much better employer for the future and, overall an holistic approach to development.
Absolutely, exactly that.
All right. No, thank you so much for sharing, Claudia. So let's get into the Q&A, please. Don't forget, if you still have more questions, pop them in the Q&A. I'll be going through some of the questions. Some of these we already covered, so I will briefly touch on those as well. So Taria has asked, how many portfolio pieces do we do on the course? So again, it's a total of 5 portfolio pieces. It's 3 coursework, which is based on our in-house product, the application you worked on. The fourth is a creative project. So you decide on the brief. It's a case study that you can bring your topic of choice to. And then the final portfolio piece is the live business project. And that's leading into one another question, which is tell us about the employer project. What was that like working with a real company for 6 weeks?
Oh, it was scary at first, and I think we that was the first time we started working in groups, because up until then it was individual work, so everything up to me. But then we merged into groups, and we started with the client, and it was quite challenging, because there were a lot of unknowns that we had to deal with. But it was so rewarding as well, because once we went through it, through the 6 weeks of collaboration and designing, we thought, wow, we actually created an entire app that meets the business needs and the project goals. And that again, sorry, I think that was the bridge between course 1 to 3 and the work. So in course 1 to 3, we did practical, obviously, assignments, but I was individual. And then we moved on to employer project, which was company, real client, collaborations as well with other designers. And then I moved onto actual work, and that's what made the transition so smooth, and there was no sort of learning curve when on the job. So very, very valuable aspect to the course.
Nice. Yep, and that's fantastic testament to what we try and do in terms of collaboration and networking. So the final project, the employer project, is group based, and that will give you a chance, I believe, to be a team lead for 1 week. So every group member will have the chance to lead a team. So not only are you collaborating, working on the real world application of skills, but now you're also getting a chance to work with others, to lead them, to manage the time management. What was your experience like in that week where you were leading the project?
Oh, I loved it. I loved it so much because, as I said, I like planning, I like organizing and setting schedules. So I absolutely loved it. And I think seeing the value that the group received from having clear deadlines, having clear tasks, having clear meetings when obviously aligning to everyone's schedule. And then obviously I'd meet with the facilitator for a feedback session. And I think I really, really enjoyed it. I actually did it for 2 weeks because there was 5 of us and 6 weeks of work. So I volunteered to do it again. And as you said, it allowed me to be a lead, to consider other people as well in the process, not just me. And I think this again was a great learning for the job, for when you collaborate with developers or QA and many other departments as well.
Nice, thank you so much. Another question we have is, did the course give you 100% of the skills needed to do UI design in your role, or does your role have a separate UI designer?
No, I'm a product designer, so I'm in charge of both visual and research and usability testings and a bit of a few other bits and pieces. And yes, the course gave me everything I needed. However, with UI, it's the fact that you have to practice. It's not something that you learn and you let it go. It's something that it's good to practice in different tools. For example, now I've done some design recently, but then I think the entire September or most of it, I wasn't designing at all. So when I came back to Figma and Sketch, Sketch is another tool which is very similar to Figma. So when I went back to them, I had to refresh my memory on what exactly the tools were, where exactly everything was. But it's not something that it's not that you forget the rules, or it's not that you forget how to structure an app. So I definitely was very confident with the visual skills and how to design accessible products after the course.
All right. So another question here about after completing the course, are you confident in UX, UI, and product design, or is there a clear differentiation between those three terms?
Mm. So it's an ongoing conversation on LinkedIn that I see constantly. What's the difference between these things? And one thing is that the difference might be company based. So depending what the company wants you to do and what job requirements are, what the job requirements are. UI design is visual design, so that's one thing. UX is it's user experience, so it's mixture of research and design as well. And then product design, which is something that I am, is something more holistic. So it's looking overall and on the business. Of course, I won't be doing marketing, but it's something that it's a role that takes into consideration all the different aspects and different deadlines and different needs of different departments, you know. So that's how I view it, and that's how I've seen it on in the industry so far. But as I've mentioned before, um, people like to stick a label to themselves, which I don't think it's that important. I am call myself a product designer, but I also apply for jobs where they need a UX designer or a UI/UX designer, and I just look at the job specifications whether um it meets my needs and whether my skills are match the company's requirements.
Nice. I hope that helped clarify that for those in the audience to know that there are certain areas you can specialize in or some roles where you'd be doing a combination of all three, and our course would build the confidence to do that. Two more questions, Claudia, before we give you your day back. So question is, would you say that your bachelor's degree, so before doing the program, helped you in securing your role, or did you rely on the portfolio and this course?
Mm, I want to say I relied more on portfolio and on this role. I can see how, especially I did linguistics and marketing, and I can see how I use those skills in everyday life as a product designer because I do some obviously UX writing as well, where the linguistics degree come in handy, or marketing aspects as well, obviously, for when we structure the website. But when getting the role, I don't think there was a massive advantage of that. Some people did mention, wow, you speak three languages, you did this or you did marketing, and so what did you learn and how can you use it in product design? But definitely what people were looking after is, what people were looking for is the portfolio and a good set of skills from KCL.
Thank you so much. And lastly, so a member of the audience wants to know if you could just touch on a bit more about healthcare, how UX, in your perception, is growing within the healthcare sector.
Mm. Um, So essentially, how it works now, it's only just starting to, is that healthcare is a very, I would say, closed off industry. That doctors or anyone in healthcare is very, this isn't a negative thing to say about doctors or healthcare professionals, but just to give an idea of how it is working, is that there is a way of working, a set way of working, and this is something everyone is used to. So prescriptions and even the consultations, a lot of paperwork, and that's when we come in. That's when we can take an advantage of our UX learnings and apply them to healthcare. And actually, my boss did a talk in a conference in Denmark on this topic, exactly how UX and healthcare can help each other. And so, for example, on the example from Numad, the company I work for, as I already mentioned, we save time from consultations, because usually consultations would take 50 minutes. Now they take 10 to 15. You don't have to, the doctor or healthcare professionals don't have to spend the time with the patient on something that the patient can do at home in their own free time and think these answers through. And obviously that's a much something that brings us into the 21st century, really, because as I said, you don't really use apps for healthcare. And also people might be a bit worried about data security, about whether they are able and have the ability to use the app. And that's exactly when UX comes in, because we know how to deal with these problems, and we can take a look at something from a different perspective, which obviously, as a healthcare professional, or if you're even in a finance industry, if you're used to doing things a certain way, you might lack the critical thinking, or like the perspective, to look at things from different way. And that's something that is happening right now, where we meet in the middle and we learn from healthcare professionals, because we learn about the guidelines, about what's important, about what they are struggling with, or what the pain points are, and now we come in and are able to address them and solve them. I hope that was helpful, at least a tiny bit.
No, thank you so much, and I'm sure for Yadovan that was helpful. Um, but yeah, that's all the questions we have. For those questions I haven't touched on, I will be touching them in the final few minutes of our course, as it's more delivery related. But other than that, Claudia, it's been an absolute pleasure to meet with you again, to speak with you about your journey, and all the best for the future.
Thank you.
And yeah, please stay in contact with us, your enrollment advisors. We'd love to continue supporting you and watching your journey.
Of course. Thank you so much, Jamie. Thank you for having me, and good luck to everyone who listened to me. Honestly, take the leap, trust yourself because it's a wonderful industry to be in, and we'd love to have you with us. So everyone have a lovely day, and I'll see you around. Bye.
Bye bye. All right, so I hoped everyone enjoyed the session. It's all about making sure if this is the right investment for you. And now you've heard from one of our students that had the investment pay off during her studies. So it worked out fantastic, and it speaks testament to why we've designed this program and all the support. Now, to wrap up, the next intake date is going to be on the 14th of October, so we are a month and a half away. Applications are open, so please use the booking links in the chat functions to book in a time with your enrollment advisor if you haven't already, to run through the question. Your enrollment advisors are more than capable of guiding you, answering questions, and making sure it's the right fit for you. And then your enrollment advisors will also be able to send through the full curriculum, the full breakdown of the course, the brochure, and all the application steps needed as well. Now, some of you may have seen the cost of the program online, but if you haven't, the full cost is £5,995, so just under £6,000, and there are two ways to pay. You could do an upfront payment, which has an incentive of a reduced fee of £500, or you can do monthly payment options, which is a fantastic way to split up the cost over time without any additional interest, fees, or costs. For our monthly options, we have a 6-month option, which you could either do a 10% deposit or a 30% deposit and the balance paid over 6 months. And we also have a great partnership with StepX, which will allow you to do a 24-month payment plan. So that would allow you to extend it. It's the most affordable option we have. And in Claudia's case, if you were to land an opportunity while still with us, then that investment would pay for itself, and you can settle the balance at any time without additional fees or penalties. So please, if there's more questions, reach out to us and out to your enrollment advisor. If you've already started an application or you need any guidance, please reach out to us as well. We'd love to help you and get through the process. Do apologize, the starting date I mentioned earlier was the 14th, but it's actually the 21st of October, so the following week, Monday. So yes, you'll have one more week to apply, but we have very limited seats as well. We want to make the program as intimate as possible to make sure that it doesn't get diluted if there are too many students. So we do have a capacity of about 25 learners. So please know that spaces are scarce. So please do your applications as soon as possible. Once it's submitted, you'll get feedback in 2 days, and your enrollment advisor will walk that journey with you, guiding you via email or through phone call to talk you through the next steps after the application. So again, thanks everyone for joining us. I hope you have a lovely day forward, and we'd love to stay in touch and hear from you soon. Thank you so much.